Hello YouTube, I'm Nive from Finale Guitar in Sheffield. You're watching Folk Friend, your one-stop shop for Celtic guitar tutorials. Today's video is about a fingerstyle arrangement that I wrote a little while ago. It's in a book which I released last spring called Irish Tunes for Fingerstyle Guitar, in which I'd arranged 10 of my favourite Irish tunes in various degrees of complexity, ranging from fairly simple at the beginning to really quite complicated towards the end, with some bar chords, some quite advanced kind of jazz harmony things going on, all sorts of interesting stuff. If you're interested in checking out that book, you can find it in the card in the corner of the screen or at finaleguitar.co.uk/shop. But today I'm going to be releasing one tab from it for free. There are a few other examples available on my website as well. They're linked in the box down below. But if you click in another card which is now in the corner of the screen, you'll find the free tab for this. It's my arrangement of Out on the Ocean, a really nice jig in G ionian. So I'm going to run you through today how to play that. You can follow along with the tab as well. Hopefully that'll help you get your head around it. And if you do enjoy it and you'd like to buy a whole book with 10 of my arrangements with detailed playing instructions, chord diagrams, a little bit of history about who wrote the tune or famous people that have played it or where it was collected or anything else that I thought was interesting about it, then you need a copy of Irish Tunes for Fingerstyle Guitar, and you can check that out in the corner. So without further ado, let's get into how to play the tune. Stop! Before we get into learning the tune, please can you hit the little like button? It really helps the channel out because the YouTube algorithm likes thumbs. The more people who hit that like button, the more people will be shown my videos. So it really does me a huge favour. All you have to do is click that little green like. So go and do that now. And while you're there, if you'd like to see more free Celtic guitar tutorials from me, hit the little subscribe button and hit the little bell next to it to be notified when I post new videos. I post a new video every Thursday evening, and sometimes I post some other things like the play along series, Folky Fridays on a Friday, the live stream lessons, loads of good stuff. So hit the subscribe, hit the little bell as well. Now we can get into the tune. So yeah, for this arrangement I've written the whole thing in drop D tuning, so it's more or less like standard. You've got E, B, G, D, A, and then the very bottom string you just drop it down a tone so that it's a nice low D, like that. I'll run you through the shapes that I use first. The main chord shape in this arrangement is this, and I suggest that you finger it like this. That's going to become obvious why that is later on. This is a G major chord in drop D. Very nice, easy chord to play. You've got your two furthest out fingers, your little finger and your ring finger. They're both on the 5th fret, ring finger on the bottom string, little finger on the A string. And you've got your middle finger on the 4th fret of the D string. And you've got your index finger over here, just hovering around near the fretboard, ready for use if we need it. That's the first chord shape that we're going to use. The second chord shape is called G/B, which basically, this is a very common way of notating chords. It just means that it's a G major chord, except that the lowest note in the chord is not G as you'd expect, but B instead. So it looks like this. I've left the top string off it because we're not going to need it. So it's just index finger, 2nd fret of the A string, and your ring finger is going to go on and off on the B string. So the shape that we're going to use is like that. That one's in there. Then it moves up to just one finger on a C. So this is a kind of very lazy version of a C major chord. I'm going to use my middle finger for this shape. That's going to go on the 3rd fret of the A string. And then I'm going to hammer on this finger in the course of the arrangement as well. Then it goes back down to G/B. And then most of the rest of the shapes in the A part are kind of just one finger jobs. So if you want to practice these shapes in order first, just so you get used to changing between them at speed, I suggest that's a good thing to do before we start getting into the actual picking side of things. So it's going to be half a bar each, and because this is a jig, there are 6 quavers in a bar because it's 6/8. Quavers are 1/8 beats for our American cousins. And so you're going to get 3 quavers or 3/8 beats on each one of these chords. So da da dun da dun da 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 da, like that. So G 2 3, G slash B 2 3, lazy C 2 3, G slash B 2 3, like that. And if you wanted to, you could practice that with a strumming pattern just to make it sound a bit more jiggy, something like something like that. I appreciate that those for backing may not be the best sounding chords ever, particularly this C is a bit vague, but in the context of this arrangement it's going to be those that you're using. So get used to changing between those first, and then we'll get into the good stuff. So to get to the actual arrangement, what you're going to do, start off on your G chord, but leave off these 2 fingers so they're spare. So you've just got your ring finger and your little finger on the 5th fret of the bottom 2 strings. And with your right hand, the technique that I like to use for most of my fingerstyle arrangements is I line up my top 4 fingers with the top 4 strings, and I put my thumb at the bottom. So if there's a low note on either of the bottom 2 strings, then my thumb is probably going to be doing it. And if any of these top 4 strings are in play, generally it's going to be the finger which relates to that string. Sometimes I move up for various reasons, but generally I've got 1 finger each for the top 4 strings. So what we're going to do then is holding that shape down with our left hand, with the right hand your middle finger is going to start. It goes thumb and middle together, so middle finger's on the G string, then index, then ring. So that gives you G, D, B, like that. Now we're going to change to this chord, which is a kind of lazy B minor 7. It's just, if you make an A7 in the way that you usually would, and then just move it down a string, that'll give you this. So you've got your index finger on the 2nd fret of the A string, and your middle finger on the 2nd fret of the D string. And what you're going to do now, your thumb, because your root note for this chord is this B note on the 2nd fret of the A string, your thumb is going to go on the A string. And so now you go thumb with ring finger, or 3rd finger, so then middle finger, and then on the left hand you're going to pull off that middle finger which is sat on the 2nd fret of the G string there, and as you pull it off you're going to twang it slightly downwards so that it kind of pings the string as it goes, like that. So that gives you like that. So the finger motion there is kind of like your kind of pulling it towards your hand as you take it off the string so that it twangs the string. So I'll just put that whole bar together. It sounds like this. Like that. Next one, we're going to go up to our lazy C chord like this. From that chord we're going to keep our thumb on the A string, we're going to pluck the ring finger on the B string and the thumb at the same time, and then hammer on the 3rd finger on the left hand onto the 3rd fret of the B string, like that, and then do that same kind of pull off and twang manoeuvre where you pull off and kind of push downwards a little bit at the same time so that it makes the B string sound open. So that gives you like that. Something like that. You don't necessarily have to do that pull off. If you want to, you can do something like that where you pluck the last note. If you find that pull off difficult, which a lot of people do, maybe just pluck the note instead. But I'm going to do it with a little pull off. Then you're going to go back to this kind of lazy B minor 7 shape, and you're going to do your thumb and your middle finger together, and then your ring finger, and then your middle finger again. So that second bar, if I put it all together, goes like that. let's just put the first bar and the second bar together quickly. So that's going to sound something like this. Bar number 3, we get to a very easy one finger shape. It's just a middle finger on the 2nd fret of the D string. For this one, this is basically an A minor 7 chord, except that I'm just leaving that finger off because I'm not using it, so there's no need to hold it down. This is a kind of general principle for fingerstyle as well. If there's any fingers that you don't need because you're not going to play that string, then leave them off and then you'll be able to play it faster. So just one finger is going to be thumb on the A string, middle finger on the G string, they go together. Then index finger is going to be on the D string, and then on the left hand you take that that finger off there and pluck the same string again, and then you do the middle finger, so that gives you so far. And the next part is the index finger again, and then your middle finger, which was on the D string on the left hand, moves up to the G string 2nd fret. So if I just put that whole bar again, you've got like that. And what I'm going to do is with my thumb I'm going to add a little low D bass note, so the bottom string with no fingers, and that's going to go on the 4th quaver, or the 4th 8th beat of that bar. So 1, 2, 3, 4 with the thumb, like that. And the very last bar of the A part is like this. So where you had that there, you switch it now so that it's your index finger. Your thumb stays on the bottom string, and you go middle, ring, ring, middle, then you take that finger off and do the middle again, and you move that finger down so that it's on the D string 2nd fret, and then it's your index finger to pluck that with the right hand. So that gives you something like that. I actually quite like to pull off, as you will have seen the first time I demonstrated that, I like to pull off the index finger for the 4th to the 5th quaver, so something like that, because I find generally if you can avoid plucking the same string twice, you'll be able to play things faster, because your right hand is not a very fast moving beastie unless you're some sort of Spanish guitar player or something like that and you're used to waggling your little fingers really fast. But I've only got slow stubby fingers, so I prefer to use pull-offs if I can. So something like that. So if I just play the whole of the A part really, really slowly the first time through the A part, and then I'll do it through again until we get to the last bar changes slightly when the A part repeats. So far we've got then it does all of that again. That's the same, I think, pretty much as it was the first time. And now you're going to go fret 4 on the G string with your ring finger, down to the open string, and then this finger, which was on fret 4 of the G string, moves down to fret 4 of the D string. So, and then what you're going to do is shift up so that you've got this. Now this is more or less that G chord that we played at the start, but I've changed the fingering in order to get all the tune notes. So I've got my 3rd finger of the left hand on the bottom string, 5th fret, little finger of the left hand on the D string, 5th fret, middle finger on the 4th fret of the G string, and index finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, and that enables you to do this little arpeggio run that takes you into the B part of the tune. So my thumb of the right hand is on the bottom string, index on the D string, you know, the normal fingering, top 4 strings with the top 4 fingers kind of thing, standard. And so I'm going to use that shape, and I'm going to go index, middle, ring, like that. So I'll just play the last 2 bars of the A part. So this is the 2 bars that it does at the end of the A part when it repeats. So like that. Once we get into the B part, this is where it becomes really important that you definitely used that fingering for the last chord of the last part, because the first chord in the B part is this, and it really is much easier if you finger it like this, although this seems a bit counterintuitive initially. So I've got my index finger on the 3rd fret of the A string, and my little finger has stayed where it was in the previous chord, and I've used that as a kind of pivot point. So as I take the other fingers off and just rotate that index finger, this one gives me a kind of anchor so that my muscle memory has something to find the right chord with quickly. So what we're going to do now that we're on this chord with the little finger on the 5th fret still and the index on the 3rd fret of the A string, and you're going to do little finger with the thumb, then middle finger, then index finger. Now you'll notice the middle finger and the index there are actually both plucking the same note, but it's really nice to hear two very slightly different versions of the same note playing together. You get this really nice kind of ringing, slightly out of phase sort of drony effect going on, which sounds lovely. So that's why I've fingered it this way. So that's that bit. Then we go down to our chord which I mentioned earlier, G/B, and we're going to finger that like this. So you just take the little finger off, slide the index finger down a fret, and put your ring finger on the 3rd fret of the B string. And with that shape held down, you're going to go thumb and little finger together, then ring finger, and then you're going to do a little pull-off manoeuvre with the left hand and twang the open string as you do so. So that's going to go like that. If I put those two together, then you've got something like that. Next bit, from there you're going to want to put your middle finger on the 3rd fret of the A string, and you're going to do like that. So you're plucking the thumb and the top string with the little finger together, and then you're hammering on your ring finger of the left hand, and then plucking it off again, so like that. Then the previous bar repeats, like that. So altogether those 2 bars sound like this. Something like that. Now you're going to want to get back to the G chord that we used at the start, more or less, except that now I've added 1 extra finger to it. So I've got this, my kind of standard G chord that I spoke about at the beginning, with my ring and little fingers on the bottom 2 strings, my middle finger on the D string 4th fret, and then I'm going to add my index finger on the B string 3rd fret, and I'm going to do like that. With this one, if you want to make it sound really nice and full, you can kind of pluck extra strings. This is a general principle. If you've got a whole chord shape held down, you always want your tune notes to be at the top. because the highest notes are the ones that your ear picks out and kind of hums along with. But if you add in any lower chord notes, as long as they're the right chord, of course, it'll always sound nice. So I'm going to pluck all of my fingers together except for the little finger. Then it's little finger, and then third finger again. Now I'm going to go down to this shape, which is, if you look at it, it looks a little bit like a D but fingered strangely, with an extra finger at the bottom. So I'm going to put my third finger on the 4th fret of the bottom string, index finger on the 2nd fret of the G string, middle finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, and then I'm going to do thumb on the bottom string, right hand, with my rock and roll fingers, like that. So what I'm doing there, I'm plucking those together, then my little finger on the open top E string, and then I'm just flattening this index finger so that as well as holding down what it was holding already, it now also uses the side of the joint there to squish down the 2nd fret of the top string. So, like that. So if I play the whole of that bar all together, it's going to sound like something like that. Next little part is going to be down to this nice E minor 7 chord. So index finger, 2nd fret of the bottom string, middle finger, 2nd fret of the A string, and I'm going to put my little finger at the top here on the 3rd fret. When you get to the start of this bar, I suggest that also you line up your ring finger on the 2nd fret if you can, because what we're going to do is a little run down, so like that. So again, same deal, I'm plucking all the strings to make the chord sound nice. My thumb's on the bottom string. And then I'm running down, taking off that little finger so that the top string is now 2nd fret, held down by my 3rd finger. And then I'm taking that finger off as well and plucking the open string. So, like that. And the second half of the bar goes to this chord, which is a nice old-fashioned D major, and you're going to pluck all the strings except for your little finger, because again you want the tune note to be the highest in the chord, and that is the one that's on the 3rd fret of the B string. So this is going to go like that. Then you take that finger off and pluck your ring finger again on the B string, and then your middle finger. So that bar all together is going to go like that. So I'll just play the whole bit that we've just done all together really slowly so you can see how that slots together. So, like that. The next part is more or less similar to something that's already taken place in the A part. So what you're going to do for this bit is get your furthest out 2 fingers, your little finger and your ring finger, put them both on the 5th fret of the bottom 2 strings, like that, and you're going to go middle finger, index, like that. The first note is with the thumb, as usual. Then you're going to add your index finger on the 2nd fret of the G string, like that. You might find this hard to finger at first, but my top tip for this is, instead of fingering it correctly with your fingers coming down vertically, aim to get the side of your index finger to connect with the 2nd fret there, like that. So that's that. Then we go to just 1 finger there like that. this is going to take us into the G/B shape. So we're going to go thumb on the A string of the right hand, and it's going to be ring finger, then index finger on the D string, and then you're going to add your ring finger of the left hand on the 3rd fret of the B string. So that gives you, so that bar together would be like that. Then we're going to go up to our lazy C chord, so middle finger on the 3rd fret of the A string, and I'm going to pluck my little finger and my ring finger together for this one, and then it's going to be a hammer on and pull off manoeuvre, so like that. Then we're down to G/B chord, and we're going to do the little pull off that we did before. Then it's you add your middle finger on the 2nd fret of the G string, so that gives you like that. So I'm going to play those 4 bars together so you can get that little phrase. So like that. And then the very last little phrase is the same as it was in the A part, so like that. So that's a direct repeat of the 2nd time that the A part plays through, the last couple of bars of that. Next, the B part repeats exactly the same, apart from the very last chord is not going to do its little arpeggio at the end, it's just going to finish on a G chord because it's the end of the tune. So that's going to sound something like this. And that is the whole tune. So I hope you've enjoyed learning this. If you would like to post a video of yourself playing it, I would absolutely love to see it. As I said before, you can find the tab for free, and you can find a few other examples on the downloads page of my website, finaleguitar.co.uk. If you've had fun learning this, then check out my other videos. There's loads of good stuff about Celtic backing guitar, all sorts about music theory, different strumming patterns, loads of good stuff, chord substitutions. Everything is there, and I release a new video every Thursday as well. So if you would like to see more videos from me, hit the little subscribe button and the bell next to it to be notified when I upload more videos. If you could also do me a huge favour, then please hit the little green thumbs up. It really helps me out because the YouTube algorithm is run by a thumb-crazed robot overlord who for some reason likes to see green thumbs on things, and it really helps the channel. It gets my videos shown to more people. So hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you all for more videos very, very soon.